it seems to me that it makes perfect sense if we continue the campaign. And though I cannot mandate my parents to submit a vaccination card informing us that you have been fully inoculated or whatever, I cannot do that anymore since the ministry has removed the mandate. I am recommending strongly that if we have the interests of our boys at heart, because like I said at the very beginning, the fact that we are coming back together, there's the likelihood that the school can be a super spreader, a major one too. And based on the presentation that I have listened to, it seems to me that being vaccinated might be the only hope in the near future for us, you know, and therefore I am encouraging my parents to continue the campaign. Don't drop your arms to say, yes, a long time I wanted the ministry to fly the gate, because it might not be in your son's best interest. All right, I'm going to open the floor now for a few questions. Dr. Figueroa will be more than happy to answer those questions. Who will be first?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Ricardo Grant again. One more question for me. I noticed the doctor saying, and they have been talking over the media, that they're having a target of 65% of a population to be vaccinated. What will happen after 65% of the population being vaccinated?
Okay, the targets, you know, have been set in order to, you know, try and get countries to aim to get as many of their people vaccinated as possible. The WHO set a target of 40% by the end of the year. 40%. Most Caribbean countries actually achieve that. I think the next target is 65%, I think in March or early next year. You know, it's good to have milestones to know where to aim. Now, Jamaica is lagging, but it would be good if we could step up and catch up to the other Caribbean countries. But the truth is, you know, a country like Cuba, you know, has over 90% of their people vaccinated. And there are a few other countries like that. So if those countries can do that, we should be able to do it. I mean, other Caribbean countries, I don't think Jamaicans are that different to other Caribbean people. But you have to get the message clear and convince people when they have reservations.
One more question. Based on a scientist's point of view, we are the best person to answer is not preventing the virus, or the vaccine is not treating the virus. Why is it so important?
When you notice my main message, I tried to show that we don't know who is going to get severely ill. And the vaccine has been proven to be very effective in protecting persons from getting severe illness, preventing them from having to go to hospital, and preventing them from dying. So when we had the Delta surge, the health providers were working round the clock. We've had to put in additional beds, country. It is, you know, a lot of the health providers are burnt out because they're working round the clock. So it's not only a cost, it means that people with other health conditions can't be seen in the hospital. And if persons were vaccinated, it would keep most of them out of the hospital and prevent them from dying. We've gone nearly 2,500 deaths already. So that is what the vaccine does.
Okay, thank you very much.
I see a couple of questions in the text. Could I get rid of them quickly?
Yes.
I answered one, that you can get any of the vaccines you have sickle cell. It doesn't matter.
Cost. It means that people with other health conditions can't be seen in the hospital.
FDA.
And if persons were vaccinated, it would keep most of them.
Their data to request approval in the US. AstraZeneca is being produced not only in Sweden and Europe, it is being produced in India and I think Brazil. It was a vaccine that was developed to serve the world, and it's in more countries than any other vaccine. It's in about 179 countries. So they're not really targeting the US market. There was one other question I saw here. After a flu and first dose, how long can the second be taken? The first point I'll make is that you can take a vaccine against flu and the COVID vaccine on the same day. You just put the flu vaccine in one arm and you put the COVID vaccine in the other arm, just like how in children, when we're given the childhood vaccines, sometimes we give them 2 or 3 vaccines, and sometimes even the injections at once. In fact, there's one we call the pentavalent. That's one injection, and it protects against 5 childhood diseases, all in that one injection. Now, if you want to get the flu vaccine and you had the COVID vaccine, you have to wait. If you don't take it on the same day, you have to wait 14 days. If you have flu, as soon as you recover from flu, you can take the COVID vaccine. And likewise, if you have COVID and you recover, as soon as you recover, you can take the flu vaccine.
Good night. I do have a question in regards to the vaccine. Persons that are very healthy, well healthy, after taking the vaccine have severe reaction towards the vaccine. You also mentioned about the lower bottom is also not able to function like walk for a few days. Why is that so?
Okay, so there are 2 separate questions you're asking me. The first question is, yes, for instance, my son, when he got the AstraZeneca, he actually took to his bed for a day and stayed home for a second day because he got mild fever and, well, he was already overworking, but he just felt totally exhausted and tired. Within 2 days, he recovered and he went back to work. He's a doctor as well. His immune system is more robust than mine. When I took the AstraZeneca, the first and the second, I didn't notice a thing. His immune system being stronger than mine and more robust, he had a stronger reaction with his immune system that gave him a little fever, tiredness, exhaustion, headache, reacted strongly. Not everybody reacts like that. Very little signs, although the immune system reaction is a very rare response to the J&J vaccine. We see it with one of viral illnesses, we see it with certain injections where people, for reasons not clearly understood, develop weakness in their legs. We think it's due to an inflammation in the nerves that go to the legs. And once that recovers, they get back their ability to walk. But it's a very rare side effect. This is, very, very rare. But I mention it in the interest of being totally transparent.
Understand. So what if somebody who took the vaccine and has been feeling all of those symptoms for months after, and they have gone to the doctor numerous times and there's no progress? What would you suggest?
Well, that's important. I mean, they need to be investigated fully. You know, it's possible we have a condition called long COVID. Maybe a third of persons who are admitted to hospital with COVID, it means they have severe COVID. They usually recover. Unfortunately, some die. But among the people who have severe COVID, we are seeing about 30% of them continue to have symptoms for up to a year or longer. Some of the symptoms vary. Some of them have what they call brain fog, or they have anxiety, or they have fatigue, they're tired. And it's interesting because some of those people, when you vaccinate them, the vaccine seems to help ease their symptoms. So if there was a person who, as you described, you are saying that they got the vaccine and they had symptoms that did not go away. It's possible.
And the person was actually healthy before all of those, before the vaccine.
So it could be due to the vaccine. It could be a very rare side effect to the vaccine, or that person may have been infected with the COVID before they got vaccinated or at the time they were vaccinated, and they have symptoms of long COVID. Because we are seeing people who continue to have symptoms of similar to, you know, headache, tiredness, and brain fog, and those kind of symptoms that goes on a long time after they have recovered from COVID. But you know, they need to be fully investigated to try and work out exactly what is going on, because I'm really sorry to hear that the doctor can't make a definitive diagnosis with someone like that.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, I have a question. I've been waiting for so long. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes, my question to you, based on all that you have said, I was listening carefully and reading the graphs that you were showing. If the vaccines are so effective that you have said, right, why is it that you have to take the booster for it? When you got the 2 shots, why you have to take the booster?
You know, the blunt answer to that is the vaccines are not good enough, right? They are good, but they're not good enough. We need better vaccines, because look at measles vaccine. You know, when we first started to give measles vaccine to our children, we used to give just 1 vaccine. And then we realized that 2 doses, maybe nearly 10% of the children did not respond and develop an immune response to measles with the 1 dose. And when we give 2 doses, we know that 99.9% of the children develop an immune response. So in the Caribbean, we have not had measles since only a couple imported cases since 1991 or something. Is it that? Yes, we've not had measles for decades, right? But that is a superb vaccine. The vaccine that we have for coronavirus is not that good, but it is far better than nothing. That's the point I'm making. You see, we mustn't see things as just black and white, right? You must,
Doctor,
yes.
Just a question here. If the
vaccine, what about herd immunity, doctor?
I was still talking, and you don't listen.
We're going to have some, just a minute. We are going to have some order here. There's a lady who was on the floor. Could you just finish your point?
Yes, sir. And I was saying, Doctor just said the vaccines are not good enough. So yes, yes, it is that you get a second. And there's also, I've heard on the news that there is also a fourth booster. So basically then, if it continues like this, then not good to fight this COVID, then you continues to have to get a booster for it then. Is that so?
Well, Israel is giving a fourth booster, but it's quite technical. They're using Pfizer, and when the Pfizer people did the studies, they gave their second dose after 21 days. We know now that if you take Pfizer and you take it today, it is better to wait 6 to 8 weeks before you get the second dose. You get a much better immune response. Another thing that we are beginning to suspect, but we're not sure yet, it is possible that the AstraZeneca response may be longer lasting than the Pfizer. We don't know yet. The vaccine does help to protect you from getting severe disease, especially in the elderly. But you can still get the virus itself and not have symptoms or have very mild symptoms. The advantage of taking the booster is that if you have a new variant, that new variant is not the exact same. It's different to the original virus that caused COVID, against which the vaccine was made. So the booster does help. It does help to protect you. And it does reduce the risk of getting infected. The more people who get infected, it means that persons who are not vaccinated are more likely to get sick and can get severe disease. And you get a lot of people getting infected. So if we get most people vaccinated, that reduces the likelihood of getting new variants. It reduces the deaths, it reduces the hospitalizations, it reduces the severe diseases, and it reduces the transmission, the number of people getting infection. The challenge we now realize is that to get herd immunity, you probably have to get 90% of your population vaccinated. So I'm answering the question of the gentleman who asked about herd immunity as well. It looks as if we need to get, for measles, to protect persons, to get herd immunity against measles, you have to get over 95% of your population vaccinated. That is what we're doing every year, getting our children vaccinated.
So given countries that you're...
Sorry, given countries?
Seems like he has a bad connection there, though.
That's a pity.
Yes,
Right,
Doctor.
now,
Question, please. I've raised my hand for a while.
Go ahead.
All right. I have a question about the myocarditis in young men, because I realize that young men is who it's affecting. My understanding is that it is an inflammation of the heart that affects the heart muscles. Now, based on what I read, the heart cannot repair itself. So how will we know the long-term effects on our young men after giving the vaccine and say they do get myocarditis? How will we know those long-term effects on their heart when they get older? Because that is my holdback from giving my son the vaccine. That is what I'm worried about.
Yeah. This is a very important question. Now, remember, I've read some material. The heart specialists, those who have a particular interest and expertise in people with myocarditis. Remember, the myocarditis and pericarditis is something that the cardiologists see from time to time over many years. There's some people who even subspecialize in this condition. So, I mean, there are other viruses, Coxsackie virus and others, that cause myocarditis. Myocarditis can be due to a wide range of conditions, including this vaccine. The messenger RNA vaccines are the ones that seem to be causing the myocarditis and the pericarditis. Pericarditis is the inflammation of the pericardium, that's the sac within which the heart is. Now, they have studied the myocarditis. I have seen one reported death, right? They have an estimate of possibly one case for every 100,000 persons. It is more common in young males. Now, when someone develops myocarditis due to the vaccine, usually what they have is just a little chest pain, as if they had a little stomach upset. They may have a little shortness of breath, and their heart may beat a little faster. That usually does not last for more than 2 to 3 days, and then it clears up. They have done studies in which they have examined the heart and they've followed persons who have had myocarditis over several months. And they have used the experience that they have of other persons who have got myocarditis due to other viral infections or other conditions. And they've come to the conclusion that the myocarditis is almost invariably what we call self-limiting. You don't even need to give treatment. If you give 2 Panadol, but you don't even need to give that. In virtually all the cases that they've seen, within 2 to 3 days the symptoms pass. They've also found that some people don't even realize that they had the myocarditis. And they've followed them up, they've put them on exercise machines, they've done various tests, ECG, echo, and other tests, and it has not shown any damage that is suggestive that there is permanent damage. They're continuing to follow up people with myocarditis, but we speak with reasonable assurance that it would not be a problem. I don't know if that convinces you or not. Most young people, their risk of severe COVID is very low, but we can't predict which young people will get severe COVID. Over.
All right. I'll take 2 more questions, and then we will bring this meeting to its close. Who will be next?
One quick one, Doc. So in your view, fully vaccinated, does that mean 3 doses or 2? Based on the fact that it is said now that it's the 3rd one that protects you from Omicron. What do you think about that? Is it 3 or 2 is fully vaccinated?
That is a very good question. For the flu vaccine, we ask that people take the flu vaccine every year because the influenza virus, it's an RNA virus, just like the COVID virus. COVID virus, the virus that causes COVID is called SARS coronavirus 2. And that virus is an RNA virus, and it mutates not as rapidly as the influenza vaccine. So we are still learning. It is quite possible that we may have to develop, if we can develop what we call a better universal vaccine, that you take 2 or 3 doses, then maybe we wouldn't need the booster every year. It's a possibility, then we might need a booster, or we might need to change the composition of the vaccine from time to time, just like how we have to do it for the influenza vaccine. So we are still learning. I don't have a definitive answer. I actually sit on one of the WHO committees that is trying to work out what is the best composition of a COVID vaccine, and we still can't work it out yet. So for now, the current vaccine does help protect against severe disease, and it does appear if a booster from time to time gives you further protection. But we have to work it out and come up with a better vaccine, in my view. Over.
So,
Can I ask one more question?
in your final statement, Michael.
Yes, sir. Good evening,
Right,
everyone. Happy New Year. The question that I have is with the AstraZeneca vaccine. You know, we haven't heard of any boosters for AstraZeneca. It hasn't been approved by FDA and all that stuff. What is the recommendation for those who have had the AstraZeneca vaccine in regards to boosters?
Okay, you can't just go off the FDA, because the FDA is not considering AstraZeneca at all, right? In the UK, AstraZeneca has been given to a lot of people, especially the elderly, and those persons are currently getting the Pfizer booster. The WHO normally says, with all of the vaccines, normally you would give the same vaccine booster. So you could take an AstraZeneca booster after 6 months, although the AstraZeneca company has not really pushed for a booster the way that Pfizer has pushed for a booster. In Jamaica, the current policy is that they're giving Pfizer boosters, but personally, I think you could get an AstraZeneca booster. It would work. It would give you an additional boost. In Cuba, vaccine that they have developed, they give a primary series of 3 vaccines, not 2. And we are watching. I'm hoping that Cuba will submit its data to the World Health Organization so we can get a better idea to evaluate how that works. We are still learning, but the AstraZeneca is a good vaccine. If you're over the age of 60 and it's 6 months since your second dose of AstraZeneca, I would encourage you to get a booster. And you could, if they'll give you AstraZeneca, that's fine in my view. If they insist on giving you Pfizer, take Pfizer.
All right, Doc, you have said a whole lot. We could sit here all night and listen to you. You know, but in your final statement, though, as parents are preparing to send their children, in our case, our boys, back to school tomorrow and beyond, what would be, and as I said before, you have said a lot, but what would be your advice to them in one statement?
Yeah, my advice would be any children over the age of 12, I would get them vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. And there are more than one reasons. The first reason is this will protect your child from getting severe COVID. They may still get infected, but they're less likely to get infected if they're vaccinated. But teenagers, it's shown all over the world that they mix a lot, and the transmission takes place among the teenagers. Most of the teenagers do not get severely ill, but some do, and we cannot predict who among the children, if they get infected, may develop severe COVID. So we are taking a step to protect them, although the risk is low. But just as important, because they mix a lot and may get infected, especially if they're unvaccinated, they can take that virus home. And if you have a relative or a neighbor or a friend, especially an elder who is not vaccinated, that person could get severely ill. So it's part of the herd immunity business of reducing the risk to the population as a whole. And the safer the community is, the school community, that we can get teachers, the staff, the children vaccinated, and I don't know what education has said, but I think physical distancing, mask wearing, and hand hygiene is still important in order to keep that environmental safe. And there are children with reduced immunity and with comorbidities who need the face-to-face education. And we don't want to have a situation where those children who have a comorbidity and could get severely ill get COVID.
That help us the uniform them to Boxer.
Daniel, I have a question, but it's not for the doctor.
All right, very, very well. I am going to take off my hat as the principal and I'm going to wear my hat as a parent. I am prepared to listen to the experts, and I believe that you represented yourself and the world of scientists very well tonight. And my takeaway from this meeting are simply three things. That the vaccine, though it is not perfect, it prevents severe sickness. It prevents one from being hospitalized. And thirdly, most importantly, is that it prevents one from dying. And if these are the only benefits